Yes, thank you everyone for joining us on today's webinar Hindu Contributions That Shaped the Mind. I'm Ankur Patel, Director of Advancement for Hindu University of America, and we've got some of our all-star faculty, Dr. DK Hari and Dr. Hema Hari, joining us for Hindu Contributions That Shaped the Mind. We also have Amita ji from Florida and Ranjan from Cleveland and Divakar from Richmond. Glad to have everyone join us for this webinar today. And so I guess I'll jump into it, on the background on Hindu contributions. And there's so many Hindu contributions, not just in the realm of mind, in the realm of matter, in so many different aspects of society. And the Hurries have come up with a whole series of courses that delve into this topic because so many of Hindu contributions are erased. They're marginalized, they're appropriated, they're taken over, and then given credit to other folks. And so we know Hindu contributions have helped to shape the material progress of humanity. And in the realm of mind, which has influenced human thought, sciences, and spirituality through time, the Hindu contributions, the Indic knowledge systems, are tremendous, and it's important that we recognize them. And in contemporary times, following the European colonization of India, it has become received knowledge that the Hindus were and continue to be ritualistic, superstitious, poverty-ridden, timid, and barely noticeable as a static people whose history is nothing more than the history of successive waves of invaders and colonizers who made India their home for a time. No, that isn't the history that we're teaching. Those aren't the contributions that we're talking about. So why did ancient explorers seemingly the world over seek out the Hindu civilization, and for what? So in this webinar, we're going to deconstruct that myth that was set in motion by a 200-year colonial encounter and other invasions before that, examine the evidence for the sciences, technologies, inventions, industry, prosperity, and wealth that made India such a desirable civilization across time. So that is kind of the context of the Hindu contributions in the realm of mind. And I'm just so proud to be a part of Hindu University of America, part of contributing to this and lifting this up and sharing it. And so our two faculty today are Dr. DK Hari and Dr. Hema Hari, who each had 20-year careers in management profession in IT and technology. They did so much work on the private sector, but it is in the field of civilizational studies that has brought them to us today, that they've been focusing and working on with their initiative called Bharat Nyan since 2000. They went to Sri Sri University together. They got their PhDs. And since then, they've been at the forefront and of Hindu thought and just a prolific couple. They've produced over 500 hours of multimedia content across 108 subjects, it's probably more now, 40 books in many languages, short films, over 300 of them, 5 documentaries, 60 mini books, 600 articles and blogs. And I think this is now, what is it, your 10th? No, might be like your 12th quarter teaching at HUA, where you've taught and iterated and improved and taken feedback from students and expanded one course into a whole certificate program. And so in this webinar, we're just going to scratch the surface of Hindu contributions to the realm of mind, and we're going to enjoy the Hurries tag team, the 2-for-1 combo, wonderful faculty and the way that they share. So let me hand it to them. Just before that, Prabhat from Minneapolis, thank you for joining us. Rashik and Josnaji from Torrance, Los Angeles, happy holidays. Thank you, Veena from Pittsburgh, for joining us. Namaste, Dhanyavad, thank you all. And now let me hand it over to the Hurries to get us started on this webinar.
Thank you. And Namaste, Shankur Patel ji, for having us once more on this webinar. And thank you for the very nice, kind words of introduction. As always, you've been very kind to us. And we get glad to see a good audience today who have taken the effort to come on to this webinar. We're looking at different aspects that the Hindu civilization has contributed to the world in the realm of matter. I mean, that we did the recent webinar. This one is on in the realm of mind. And in that, when we think of mind, we normally say, yoga is one thing we contributed. Yes, certainly a spirituality. Yes, philosophy. Yes. But There are many things beyond that we have contributed. And as our host, Sri Ankur Patel said, many of them have not been recorded well enough. And what we have been doing in this course with Hindu University America is that bring out these facets for all our student colleagues. So these aspects are there, and which we, first of all, the idea is that we should know it ourselves. Only if we know it can we own it, know that's our contribution. There's this three-step approach. One is we have to know it. That is what this course actually does for us. Next level is to own it. Till you know, you cannot own it. And you have to say, yes, this is my pride, this is my inheritance, this is my civilization inheritance, wherever geographically we are today. Then only we can expound on it. So you'll have to have pride and own it to expound on it. So this is three-step approach, which we'll be discussing. So we'll take different aspects of it. We have Hema has prepared a few slides for this evening. She'll show you all that, and we'll take it forward from there. So this is what it is. A Hindu contribution that shaped the mind is the heading of the webinar. So we look at certain key aspects in this.
So as we were trying to put together this deck for you to give you a glimpse, a quick glimpse in just about half an hour to 40 minutes. So we just came across this beautiful small short, and which we thought will be very nice to play for you all today.
The two greatest mysteries in all of science, the two greatest mysteries are, one, what happened before creation? Why did we have a Big Bang? What banged? Are there other universes, a multiverse, before the Big Bang? That's outer space. Then the second mystery is inner space.
Yes.
What goes on behind your eyeballs? We have 100 billion neurons in your brain, as many as stars in the Milky Way galaxy. Each neuron is connected to 10,000 other neurons. And so what is the brain?
So this is the brief that we wanted to play for you to say that the two extremes of the case.
So on one side, the two mysteries that the world is today grappling with is what caused the Big Bang. See, we all know about the various experiments that are being conducted for the God particle. Now we also have definitions for a goddess particle, and so many collider experiments are being conducted. That's on one side, and all of this is to find out what happened immediately after the Big Bang. That's one side, but yet still we haven't crossed over to understand what happened, what caused the Big Bang, what happened before that made the Big Bang itself occur.
It's like the glass ceiling, beyond the beyond of it.
So, and therefore, what would have existed to cause that Big Bang? So that is one side of a question which modern science today we aren't even attempting, because we are still trying to understand what happened after on a macro level. And on a micro level, we are trying to fathom where is this mind? We can see the brain. We have understood the brain, and we have understood that there is almost 96% of the brain whose functions we do not know, and only 4% that we know. And
look at
all this, where is this mind?
Look at what you said. We know only about 4% of the activities of the brain. 96% of it we do not know. Similarly, of the known universe, we know only 4% of it. The balance 96% of it we do not know. It's a matching ratio. And this is an eternally matching ratio. That is why in our Sanskrit shloka we have a phrase, Yatha Pinde Tata Brahmandi. That means Pinda means the small unit. The way the small unit is, Tata, like that. Brahmandi, the universe. The Brahmanda means universe, because under the shape of an egg, Brahmanda. that which is expanding, growing universe, Brahmanda, huge size of it. So that is also the same. So this is said in our Vedic Samhita, probably 5,000, 6,000, 7,000 years ago, and still holds scientific good. And we had fathomed this and tried to understand and experiment on these two extremes using our mind. Because for this, because we have to find out what was happened before the Big Bang, because there was no gross particle, there's only subtle particle. For that, none of our mechanical devices will work. It's the mind that has to fathom it. So the other end of it. So the course itself is about Hindu contributions to the realm of mind. So in this, we see at the two spectrums, one at the macrocosm level, two at the microcosm level. That is the beauty. Our civilization has expanded both the gross and the subtle beautifully, which we'll see in the next few slides.
And it is exactly these two great mysteries that
The two greatest mysteries
that we have actually worked on in as part of our collection in Bharat Gyan, the compendium in Bharat Gyan, where we have been looking at the various facets of the civilization and compiling them together. And from this compendium, we bring out related uh, information as various titles, and a couple of titles that we have brought out are, one is Understanding Creation, which actually looks at the knowledge base of this civilization, which has been able to hold forth on what happens before the Big Bang to cause a Big Bang, and how long does the effect or the after effect of the Big Bang last, and what happens again after that. So these are the kind of things that our Indian knowledge base has discussed, and that is what we have brought out in the form of the book Understanding Creation.
This
Drishti Vigyan.
film is available online for those who are interested to sort of browse through, or you can watch the full-length film on it.
So if you go to our homepage on our YouTube channel, it will take you to our documentary channel, where we have a 1 hour documentary on this aspect of creation. Likewise, if you look at it, these two books, in these two, we handle about the book Roots in India, Brand Bharat, Roots in India, and Brand Bharat, Future from India. So here in Roots in India, we look at all that we have contributed in the form of concepts, ideas, knowledge, and which have gone on to shape the progress of thought and sciences world over. And in Future from India, we really look at where we are standing today, the crossroads where we are today, where we have already contributed all these that have shaped the world and brought us to where we are. And where is the world looking forward? I mean, where does it look like it will head forward?
In the next few decades.
In the next few decades. And if you look at it today, we are in the knowledge era. And after all of this, ultimately, where you have all the AIs and the chat GPTs of the world to come and give you all the information that you're seeking for, what are you as a human eventually going to do with your mind, with your brain? So therefore, when it comes to that, and when it comes to trying to understand what do you do with your mind, how do you harness it, that is when we have this Future from India, the possibilities of what all we can contribute. So these are things that are very much there in our knowledge base, which can be leveraged. And in this course, we try to give a glimpse into these aspects of our knowledge base and practices. And to give you a short glimpse into what people have actually said to acknowledge this, we will look at a couple of pages from this book, Future from India. See, these are all the who is who scientists of the past. Urban Schrödinger, and he says some blood transfusion from India to the West is a must to save Western science from spiritual anemia. And he was a physicist. Then musings of Wheeler, one has the feeling that the thinkers of the East, that's India, knew it all. And if we could only translate their answers into our language, we would have the answers to all our questions. And he again was a physicist. Then again, you have Heisenberg, and he, in an interview, had said, and this is the interviewer who is actually Fritjof Capra. And he says, when I asked Heisenberg about his own thoughts on Eastern philosophy, he told me, to my great surprise, not only that he had been well aware of the parallels between quantum physics and Eastern thought, but also that his own scientific work had been influenced, at least at the subconscious level, by Indian philosophy. In 1929, Heisenberg spent some time in India as the guest of the celebrated Indian poet Rabindranath Tagore, with whom he had long conversations about science and Indian philosophy. This introduction to Indian thought brought Heisenberg great comfort, he told me. He began to see that the recognition of relativity, interconnectedness, and impermanence as fundamental aspects of physical reality, which had been so difficult for himself and his fellow physicists, was the very basis of the Indian spiritual traditions. So, where do you separate science from spirituality in Indian thought or Indian knowledge base? And here again, you have Oppenheimer. Discoveries in atomic physics are not in the nature of things wholly unfamiliar, wholly unheard of, or new. Even in our own culture, they have a history in Buddhist and Hindu thought. So he's also acknowledging. Likewise, Neil Bohr, the father of atomic structure, is often quoted to have said, I go to the Upanishads to ask questions. So, because Upanishads themselves are a set of compendium of questions and answers. So, our
You look at what she said. Upanishad. Upa means nearby. Be near somebody. So Upanishad. So it's a compendium of questions and answers, dialogue between a teacher and student on all these aspects. So each of the Upanishad actually has a series of questions which are asked of the Guru, and that's how it evolves, or there's a public debate dialogue, as in the case of Brahadari Upanishad, like that many Upanishads too. So it's a series of questions. So questioning, that is where it tickles the mind, kindles the mind. So that aspect of question, because all these needs questioning. That is one of our big contributions itself. The very field of questioning, because in questioning there are two types. One can ask questions to know a good answer, a searching answer. A searching question gets you a searching answer. Or you can also ask a derisive question, which will get you only an answer of that sort. So that's why that is called, in arguments, in questioning, the two types that we have in Indian thought. One is called tarka. The other is called ku-tarka, where tarka is the idea is to enable each of us to share our knowledge and enhance the knowledge, collective knowledge. Ku-tarka is, I'm sure many of you know the Indian term of ku-tarka, means not to get a real answer, but just to get one-upmanship. That takes us nowhere. But the Hindu civilization's contribution to the mind has been through tarka, dialogue, discussion, healthy arguments. That's the beauty.
Vada,
Vada.
debates.
Look at that. Vada, samvada, prativada. Vada is debate. Samvada is equal level debates. Prativada is counter debates. So you have different levels of debates that happen. That is how you enhance knowledge. That's how you get to understand the mind. You get the mind to open up and bring out more. Look at the beauty of it.
So, actually, in January on 13th, we are starting a course on Hindu contributions in the realm of mind. And incidentally, 12th of January is the birth anniversary of Swami Vivekananda. And therefore, we thought we would like to just mention this aspect as well of how even Nikola Tesla was influenced by his interactions with Swami Vivekananda.
Yeah. See, it's very important, because when you talk about the mind and its influence, Swami Vivekananda brought up the subject in the United States of America in a very big way when he went for the Chicago conference and stayed on in different parts of USA. He repeatedly brought out this. So, and obviously, one of those, I mean, in a store of the United States of America, he also happened to meet Nikola Tesla, the great scientist then, the US scientist. So, in this, he brings out. So, this an article is there on this as well as it's in our book.
So this is about his meeting with Swami Vivekananda in 1895. And here he actually, Swami Vivekananda has written in his letter to a friend, Mr. Tesla was charmed to hear about the Vedantic prana and akasha and the kalpas, which according to him are the only theories modern science can entertain. So this is a lot. There are a couple of various other views, both of Tesla and Vivekananda, all of this. So the reason we are trying to show you this is that they acknowledge, most of the modern scientists today have acknowledged the contribution of Indian knowledge base to the way they have been influenced and the way they have taken the science forward. Because if you really look at it, we have a very interesting definition for science itself in Indian thought. It's a very beautiful definition and a very, very forward-looking definition. So this is Varaha Mihira, who is talking about science.
Sastra, the work of science, Sastra. It could be theological, scientific work, where he speaks of what is Sastram. It's a body of knowledge.
So he says it is a body of knowledge that has grown, is growing, and will grow. And it progressively affects man's life. Now, this is very interesting because actually, when you say science, we say things are happening according to science. No, things are happening according to reality, according to truth, according to the way it is meant to be. What we are understanding, what we have understood of it so far is science. So when we say things are happening according to science, it is happening according to what our knowledge of that is. To that extent alone, we have fathomed. And anything beyond that, so far we have called it, supernatural or
beyond explanation,
divine, or we've said we haven't been able to fathom it. So only to the extent that we have been able to fathom reality, we have called it science. And as our understanding grows, so does this body of knowledge. And how beautifully Varaha Mihira has spoken about this. And this science of the world, Western world, has been influenced a lot by the Indian knowledge base. And if you come to Indian perspective of science or Indian knowledge base, we have never segregated science and spirituality. So for us, it has been a very beautiful blend between science and spirituality where we've straddled both. And very interestingly today, like when we spoke about the Big Bang, where the modern science is trying to understand everything and feel everything from the gross, from matter as it exists, as it can be perceived, as it can be sensed, as it can be measured. Whereas the Indian thought has always tried to reason the evolution of matter from the paravastu or the subtle to the vastu. That means we have tried to understand from the mind and not. So the mind, you see, is actually what happens from your five sensory organs. Your senses go and contribute and influence the mind, but the mind is much more as well. It comes with many more layers, and with those layers, we have been trying to fathom the subtle and try to understand reality from that point of view. So that is why the Indian knowledge base is little different and has a lot more that modern science can therefore pick up.
So we see I said, so because the modern science is all mechanical, you have to have measuring tools for all that. So it's all, that's why I repeat the word, it's all very mechanical, mechanics involved in it. Whereas the traditional Indian way of looking at science is more the mana, the mind. So you did not have this box that you were living in. So the box is depending upon the sciences, that the sciences can transfer to technology through which you can understand science. We went beyond that. So even though we know that it's only 4%, both in the universe as well as in our mind, we know it's only 4% out of the balance 96% is still unravel. We are not able to unravel. And mind you, we have not been able to unravel it for the last many millennia. It's not new phenomena. It's only now in the English language, in Western science, they're expressing it. We have been saying so, that much is unfathomable. The beauty is you can go into that unfathomable, not with any mechanics, not with any tool, but only with the mind. For that, the only civilization that has actually understood the mind and worked on this detail, as she showed in the book cover, the book Future from India, is the idea of mind as discussed by our Hindu civilization thought.
So talking about measures, therefore, very interestingly, we have various terms even for measure. Measuring meaning parimana, to have a feeling of its measure, of its size, so of its extent. So that is parimana. And this measurement, we have actually three different terms. We have an anuparimana, which means to measure or to guess the extent of something that is very infinitesimally small. And then vibhu parimana, so that is infinitely large. And in between you have the madhya parimana. So that which is a bounded set and which can be measured at all. So with whatever form of your senses you can perceive. So that is in the center. And on one side you have something that is the subtlest, and the other side you have something which is the grossest, if such a word exists. So,
Infinite is a better word.
So Anu and Vibhu, so since look at this, we had the terms, which means we had an idea that there can be something which is on the smallest scale, it can go to infinity, and on the largest scale also can go to infinity. So we also knew that infinity is a idea, a concept, a measure that is immeasurable, that is not unmeasurable, that is that.
So
that
watch
is
our
infinite.
film on the subject. On infinity, we made a film, a 3-minute film is there. How the very idea, the concept, and the word. I repeat, the word infinity comes from the word ananta. You see, the idea, all three aspects we have shared with the world. So that is a big contribution. That is infinity.
And which is why, when we came up with the logo for Bharat Gyan, we designed it such that it is from zero to infinity and many a thing that is in between. And this particular shape we gave because this denotes two things. One, at the heart of it, creation, which starts everything. And at the same time, if you take this to be the figure of a man, then this is equivalent to, what can you say, the heart and the mind. And these are the waves of thought radiating from the person. But on the other side, if you look at this as creation, srishti, then these are the waves of Om, which are the echoes of the Big Bang. So which is the pranava, the first thing that emerged out of the creation, the sound.
See, look at this. We can't hear the Om Kara that is reverberating in the universe with our ear. You need a mechanical device for it. Now, two people in USA, they identified it with their Hornshoe telescope, Arno Penzias. So, for which they got the Nobel Prize in 1965. Whereas we have been seeing this Om for millennia, identified the noise that is reverberating in the universe. What you call as CMR.
Yeah, a cosmic microwave background radiation, CMBR. So that's how we got this logo for Om, for Bharat Gyan too. And it just shows how that, when you look at both these ends, the grossest, the infinitely large and the infinitesimally small, we have been contributing with our knowledge, both in terms of the brain and the brawn. So in both these aspects, the soft power and the hard power, we have been contributing. So we came up with courses where, course is a word, but more it's like sessions, interactive sessions, where we deal with contributions in the realm of matter and those in the realm of mind. And we have completed 2 quarters where we looked into the realm of matter, and we are starting with 2 sessions which are going to look into the realm of mind. First being sciences and arts, contributions that have helped shape the science and arts of the world. And then in the next forthcoming quarter, we'll look at those that have shaped the lifestyle of people around the world. So this is one set, whereas the other is about understanding the various facets of the Hindu civilization. So the geography, history, divinities, the cosmology, timekeeping, and social organization and culture as well. So these we have been offering as a circular program of 8 courses, which run across 8 quarters, that is 2 years. And they are like a hop on, hop off. You hop in anywhere, and you can, once you finish the 8, you exit with a credit, with a 12 credit certificate as well. So we are now in January, we are going to be starting this particular course on sciences and arts, Hindu contributions. And given that in this particular quarter, we are going to look at, like we said, from 0 to infinity and many things in between. So, so how these thoughts have traveled world over, and so who are the people who actually took it, and not just recently, but over millennia. And from there, we move on to various contributions, concrete contributions that are traceable, can be shown to have gone from here in the realm of medicine, especially Ayurveda, vaccines, because this has been the talk ever since COVID hit us, and also horse breeding. Then, in terms of maths, so many concepts have gone world over, such as zero, infinity, then algebra, geometry, trigonometry, calculus, you name it. Anything that we do in maths today has been influenced by the maths from India. Only thing, it has not been known, and still many do not know that it is actually a contribution from the Hindu civilization. Many still attribute it to the Arabs. And then also beautiful concepts such as meridians and time zones itself. This itself you can show is a idea and a way to measure time which can be traced to the Hindu civilization. Yes.
So we have 3 sessions in maths, as you can see there. The third one is about the idea of Meru, Sumeru, the pyramid, the Fibonacci series, and how the travel of what you call Hindu maths happened all over the world and actually ignited science out of it. But for it, there's no science, is what, right, from people like Albert Einstein say, all have said, because until you got the zero in Europe, you could not have think of science without a decimal system and a zero system. You could not think of science developing. So you did not have science till Renaissance happened, till they accepted Indian zero in the system of mathematics. So that was the kickoff point. That was a game-changing point, which you saw in the last quarter. This quarter, we'll look at all the details of each one of them, how it's coming from the mind. For example, why is the shape of zero
A zero?
A zero, a circle, or a dot? Why can't it be X? Why can't it be V? Why can't it be W? Or why can't it be any other shape?
Why is it a zero? I mean, why is it a circle? And also, why is it called a zero? How did it get the name zero? When did it get the name zero? And when did people really come to understand zero and start using zero? See, we normally say, very loosely it is said, Aryabhatta invented zero. Aryabhatta gave zero to the world. But that is
incorrect.
Incorrect in the sense it is the first encounter of the West from Aryabhatta texts that they understood the existence of zero?
See, zero has been in use in Indian knowledge system for many millennia before Aryabhatta. And there have been many scholars before Aryabhatta who have been using zero consistently. Aryabhatta also uses zero in the year 499 CE in his book Aryabhattiyam. So that book reached different parts of the world, and many books have reached before that to different parts of the world. Much before Aryabhatta's time too, India was known for sciences and mathematics. So it's all reached all over the world. So that is, we have this thing. So, but somebody, some 30, 40 years ago, 25, 30 years ago, decided to say that, make a statement that Aryabhatta invented zero. He wanted to name somebody. So he knew the only mathematician he knew from the Indian firmament of thousands of mathematicians is Aryabhatta. So he just named on Aryabhatta. So we have a chapter in our book Breaking the Myths about saying that Aryabhatta did not invent zero, but also use zero. That's the beauty of it. So like that, it's traveled all over. Then we have the idea of swastika. It's a beautiful symbol, not to be mistaken with the Hakenkreuz of German Nazis. Two different products, two different symbols. And we explain that also in detail in our course. And meridians. Very important to understand the idea, because many of you still have stayed in the Le Meridian hotels. Little realizing the connect between the Meridian hotels and the Meridian, and which is the meridian for the world before these meridians of Europe and of
England
GMT
and GMT and the
France
meridian of France
became in vogue. What was the earlier meridian of the world? What did the Europe look up to as the meridian of the world? Was Ujjain, the Mahakala Ishvara temple. Kala, time, Maha, great, Ishvara, Lord. So the great Lord of time, Mahakaleshwara. So the meridian, because that was the point where it cut the Tropic of Cancer. At that point, it is it's at that cross section. So that was the meridian of the world, which is recorded by as OZ. Again, our short film is there. You can watch it. There's a 3-minute film on this. It's a very popular film of us in our YouTube channel. Please watch it at your convenience. That's also there. So like that time zones. Aryabhatta again has mentioned about the time zones in this chapter 5, all the way up to the time zones in US. Again, that we'll be discussing in the course in detail, showing you those maps too, that which have been drawn based on that. That's obviously there. And sound, as we said, Omkara, she said Om, that's a Pranava, the original sound.
So if you really look at Indian knowledge base, you will find that we had a very good handle on sound. How is sound created? How is it influenced by the anatomy of a person, the chambers in a person's buccal cavity, and how these different sounds are then modulated and produced, not just in speech, but also in music. Now, that is one part of the understanding. Now, the beauty of this is, see, sound, as we all know, the moment it is uttered, it's lost, it's gone. So it is there only when it is uttered, only for that moment it is there. And then it just disappears, it just vanishes in space. But therefore, if you want to record this, today, of course, we have our USBs and so many other digital devices in which we record. But God knows how long we'll be able to read and decipher them back again, because these seem to be going out of, they seem to be getting obsolete so quickly, or even the format changes and you can't retrieve the sound. So how can you get back the sound that was uttered, recorded for posterity? Now that was a challenge, and this civilization had addressed it beautifully, and we had given a beautiful name for the mechanics of it. We had called it Akshara, meaning that which does not get decimated. Ksharam means to get decimated. Aksharam, that which is not decimated, but that which continues to live in the form of a script, in an alphabet, as a lipi. So translating from a sound to a script is a beautiful science. And to understand that, they had understood how sound is created, how the sounds can be ordered and therefore translated into script. Then that leads to grammar, evolution of language, language as a structure. See, people can communicate. There are many, many ways. We deal with all this when we do the course. Many ways in which you communicate. You don't really need to have grammar and everything. But if you want to record it systematically, then you need all of this. You need a framework by which I can record and you can understand from that. So, because we both are not going to be face to face when this communication is going to happen. So, it is from this device, from this recording. So, that was something that we had mastered. And this is something that has influenced the world as well, how we will see. And this is not often spoken about.
There's actually a short film on this also, which you can watch in our channel in the Amazing India playlist. That is of Bharat Gyan YouTube channel. There's about
We'll show you where
20
you
different
can pick
playlists. In
these
that, one of them is called
playlists.
Amazing India playlist, in which you can watch both these films independently. Then
And how this kind of knowledge and the systematic framework has served as an inspiration for development of chemistry in the form of periodic tables. And from there, going on to the art of storytelling, having rhymes, poetry, rhythms, and also various other very interesting aspects. Sorry? Yeah, it is. So from there, we transition to all these various aspects as well. So these are some of the topics that we will be covering during this particular session. And the civilizational acknowledgement for all this knowledge base itself comes from our name Bharat, which means it is a land where people are connoisseurs of knowledge. Bha meaning knowledge, light, Rata meaning to take delight, and therefore a land where people are connoisseurs of knowledge. And this is also acknowledged by the Chinese, who talk of us as kings of wisdom. So they also say we are kings of wisdom. There are various Arabs who have listed out as to what all they have learned from this civilization way back in 4th and 5th century CE itself. So that is, we'll be looking into all those very interesting aspects too. But the pinnacle of all this is how we have actually called our divinity for knowledge, Ma Saraswati, as Bharati. So our divinity for knowledge also bears a name. Saraswati also bears a name, Bharati. And that stands for speech, actually, the mode through which this knowledge is transmitted. So amongst her various names connected with sound, there is also this aspect of speech. Now, the thing is, see, most aspects of these contributions that the civilization has made, of course, 25 years ago when we started, we were sitting and compiling it and collecting it like a sparrow picks up hay from here and there. And even then, we could find it in the form of facts. And today, of course, now these kind of facts, you find them everywhere. Many shots are being circulated. You find the facts. But what we find missing is the foundation as to how did this excellence come about? Like, for instance, why is the shape of zero the way it is? The shape of zero, or the word zero for it, how did it come? When did it travel? How did it travel? Through what lands did it travel? So these kind of aspects is what we will be looking into. And further, these aspects, the foundation, which come from the mind, well, it is very good to have a mind, but the mind can it can grow in all directions. How do you keep it focused and controlled and to produce something that is productive? Mind can produce anything. So how do you produce things which are needed, which are productive, which are useful? And that comes from the mindset. So that speaks of the ethos of the civilization, the mindset that the civilization had cultivated and had lived with, which could therefore give rise to all these various contributions. So that is something, again, that we will be looking into as we look at each of these various aspects of contributions. And the reason is, we see, in the 1800s, power was focused in Europe because it was the era of colonization. They had colonized the world, and they had accumulated everything in Europe. And from there on, it moved to America in 1900s. And now in the 2000s, it's coming back towards Asia, which is where it was before the 1800s. And in this power shift, if we are to play a responsible role, where so far we have only seen economic growth taking precedence in the world, but how do you bring in the balance of this? So the mindset of the right mindset to give you the right balance is very important. So getting to the mindset that had triggered off all these various contributions is important, and that is why we have framed this as a study of the civilization. It is looking at the Hindus from a civilizational perspective, so that a study of whatever they had done, their knowledge base, their practices, can help us scale up our skills so that we can become relevant for the future. And because if they have lived for so long as we are all living today, we are a continuously living civilization. So if this civilization has lived up to this far, then what they have done must be something good, which should be carried forward for the future then. And to get that confidence, the dare, the direction, the distinction that we need to be able to succeed is where we are seeing that this civilizational study can help us. So we always like to say, you need to have the confidence and the dare to follow and adopt these ways so that we can succeed. And since the time is short, we are just wrapping it with these address contacts, and we'll be open to take questions. And of course, there is more for you in the course. Our courses, our sessions never go just for 1.5 hours. They usually go on till 2 hours, where there are a lot of questions and interactions. And a lot of interesting things come out, because it's your questions during our sessions that actually shape the way the course also goes and the sessions go. So with that, we are open to taking any questions that you would have.
Wonderful. Yeah, that was every presentation. I love it. Thank you so much. Let me drop in the chat some details on the course. You can click that link and see when it is. Are there 2 sessions or only the 10 a.m. session on Saturdays?
It is just one session,
session
on Saturdays, and that is Sciences and Arts, Contributions in the Realm of Mind, Sciences and Arts. The subsequent quarter will be doing Living and Lifestyle.
So maybe you can explain that a little bit and how you're rotating. And I know you got into it a little bit, but then one of the other people who is this Jayashri is asking about time. And I know you have a specific course on chronology. So, and Jayashri's specific question is, since the prime meridian changed, has time changed in any Jyotish timings and calculations, as it's based on time and planets and position at birth? So if you can dig into this.
See, the Jyotisha. See, look at the term Jyoti. Jyotisha, what you say, itself comes from the word light. Jyoti, to glow. Obviously. So beautiful, isn't it? So we always, for Jyotisha purpose, we take it from sunrise to sunset. Whereas in GMT, the Greenwich Mean Time, it is midnight is 12 a.m. to after mid-noon is 12 p.m. So the sequencing is different. So it really, it's the Indian Hindu Jyotisha system is based, it's a 2 different systems, sunrise to sunset system, and the next sunrise of the next day. So there itself, the start and the end times itself are very different. 2, in Jyotisha, you have something called Drik Jyotisha, meaning you see physically and tally it with your tables. So just because you do something on the tables, that itself is not right. You have to physically see the skies and map it, match it, map it, very important. So people who do the tables on Jyotisha should know that 2 observational astronomy. One is observational and one is
mathematical.
That's why it's called Ganita Jyotisha, Siddhanta Jyotisha. You should know the Siddhanta of it. You should know the maths of it, Ganita of it, and the Drik Jyotisha, where you physically observe. And the mapping of the 3 only leads to Jyotisha. So the AM, PM timing of Greenwich is a totally different concept. Our Jyotisha concept of sunrise to sunrise is again two very different concepts. So we have sunrise to sunset concept and sunrise to sunset, sunrise concept. So very different. The fundamentals itself are very different.
Interesting. It's a whole different perspective, right? Again, me being born in the West and just accepting the Gregorian calendar and all these other things, and then digging into what you share at Hindu University of America in your courses, it's amazing, and I really appreciate it. I think a lot of our audience does as well. Hyro is asking, how might the concept of zero, do you imagine, have been discovered or invented? That's we can get into the how any of these things were discovered and invented, complicated ideas. Was it for accounting purposes or philosophical purposes, or do you grant it to some kind of revelation through the rishis? And maybe you can expand this more broad in terms of how you delve into different contributions, who contributed, how you explore it in your course, and then share that out a little bit.
Sure. See, she mentioned about the idea of the shape of zero. What do we call zero in Indian thought? Shunya. Which as it traveled west, Shunya became sifr. And from sifr, it went all the way to zero and zero.
We can try and show you that one. Yeah, 1 second.
It
actually
See how she's trying to show you things. So how it was in some it traveled all over the world, right from Shunya. It went to Arabic, it went to Sifr, and it comes Zephirum in the Latin word, French cipher, Zebro, Zephyr, and finally zero in England. That's how it traveled across centuries, over a millennia actually, and over different aspects. How the word also from Shunya it became zero. That's one. Now, he asked about the shape which Hema mentioned. It's actually part of the course we discussed in great detail. And she also gave you the clue earlier with the question about what was there before everything. That is the Big Bang. When the Big Bang happened, when there was nothing but that, what was the shape of that? When there was nothing else. When numbers 1, 2, 3, 4 have a specific shape, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Without this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, there is one number that has the power of all this, but also nothing in it. It's got everything in it, but it's nothing. What is the shape of that? In the cosmic field, before the Big Bang, we call it what? Hiranyagarbha. The womb, the golden hued womb of the universe. What is the shape of that? She showed you in the book Creation, that's there, and the film also, it's there. It's the same circle of a dot. Because there's nothing and no space, even space has not been created. Only a speck. The speck is a dot. Nothing else exists, everything exists in that. Similarly, zero has all the numbers 1 to 9, the power of all that in this, nothing else but that. So look at how the Indian mind fathomed and correspondingly give the shape and the name to it. Look at the beauty of it, the way the mind works. That's why we specifically asked this question. And I'm glad you asked this question, sir. Details we look at in the course. I hope I've answered your question in brief.
Yeah, no,
we will look
definitely.
at where all you can find usage of that shape, in many years, many 1,000 years before today itself. Where do you find such shapes for zero?
Yeah. And so actually the next question kind of dovetails into this. Right, this is kind of is it a secular contribution coming from Hindu thought? So Ryan Anderson is asking, are there any overtly secular contributions? I think all these things are secular, but where does it come from, right? Of Vedic culture that the lower caste contributed to Vedic society. So obviously you throw the word caste in there and there's a problematic nature because of course people from all parts of society contributed. And just because other people portray you and you were born into a certain work or condition doesn't mean that your academic or your intellectual contributions then get erased. They can transcend wherever you were born at. And that idea of caste rigidity is definitely a Western concept imposed upon Hindu society, because Hindu society has always been dynamic. These creative thoughts, the contributions of the mind, you never know where they're going to come from. And regardless if they're from this group of people, this farmer, this Shudra, that Shastriya, that Vaishya, whoever it is, or if they're contributing intellectually in education and spirituality, if they want to call themselves Brahmin, I think that's part of the Hindu society, right? And so I just kind of hit on a couple different topics there, because that word caste and contributions to Hindu society are often erased through these appropriations or these exonyms and these terms that are projected onto a Hindu society. And then, of course, the British contributed so much to Hindu society, right? The Mughal Empire contributed so much, right? But there's so much context to who is contributing how and who gets credit for it. And so the last kind of section of Ryan's question is, did even things such as horse breeding arise out of the religiosity of Hindu Dharma? So interesting kind of series of questions on this.
No, I'll take the last question first. Mr. Ryan, you can certainly look up our book, Staying Alive India. It's available for read online in our website. In that book, almost 2 chapters we deal with horse, different aspects of it, including why do you call a horse as equine? Why do you call all the cats as feline? And why do you call the dog family as canine? There's a reason for it. And when you see equine, there's a reason for it, for the horse family. And why did it come so? Why did it come so? It comes from a very deep Indian. See, religiosity is what you practice. Hinduism, if you see, is not actually one religion. It's an amalgam of different ideas, what West calls religion.
In fact, we had a very clear segregation between dharma and religion, which is actually the correct terminology is mata. So we had various mata, which are religions. And so your question of about whether secular, because dharma is secular. So dharma is not religion. So Hinduism is a dharma, and all this knowledge is all about how close it is with the actual cosmology, with the sciences, and it is nothing to do with religion per se. And I presume that you may have asked about horse breeding. I think the horse breeding must have triggered your connections with various myths that float around regarding rituals connected with horses and so on.
Incidentally, in our book, Breaking the
Myths,
Myths, there's one full chapter about the Ashwamedha Yajna and the horse breeding and the horse rituals and how many myths are there around it. We have tried to bust all those myths and all the misconceptions. Please read the book Breaking the Myths. In our book series available online in our website. There we bust all those myths about what you call. So there in 2 places in our books, it's available in detail. One in Breaking the Myths about the myth aspect perspective or busting them. Other is about the aspects of horse, aswa, science, the mind, etc. That is there in the book Staying Alive India.
The reason we are actually taking up horse breeding in this course is because there is again a popular knowledge that the text for horse breeding is from Arabia. So it is called Salator, and world over, even including in India today, any horse breeder would be following this book for rearing horses. It's called Salator. It is an Arabic text which has been then translated into English and many other local languages. But very few would know that this Salator by itself is a translation of a Salihotra Samhita of India.
Of Sanskrit text.
Of Sanskrit text, Salihotra Samhita, which got translated and became Salator
in Arabic.
In Arabic. And the Salihotra Samhita was such a compendium, such a detailed
16,000 verses of 8 chapters dealing all aspects of horse. So it predates Salator of Arabia by many millennia. Because Nakula of Mahabharata, the Panchapandava Nakula prince of the Mahabharata period, is also a disciple of Shalihotra. And the charioteer of Karna, who was expert in horse, the way Krishna was a charioteer for Arjuna, for Karna there was another great charioteer. His name was Shalya, means who was expert in horses.
And very interestingly, scientists are called Ashvinav. And Ashwin, the Ashwin twins, the divinities, the Deva, the Ashwini twins, they are represented actually as horse-headed beings. They are there, I mean, divinities, and the way to symbolize them is with horse heads. So there is a very beautiful connection of horse, the idea of equine, then its connection with science, scientists, and also the fact that one of the greatest work on medicine for horses, breeding of horses, is actually from this civilization. So it's a beautiful circle. So that's one of the reasons why we brought in this topic, because that gives you a very good handle across various dimensions of science and knowledge.
Nice. The circle of continued information, and it just keeps on going.
But it's not zero. The circle is loaded with a lot of information.
Yeah. Dilip Madan is asking, what about the shape of infinity, right? That's just we'll take a
Yes.
pause on that. We're at
It's,
10:04.
that's as well.
That as well. When John Wallace introduced that, obviously got it from the inspiration was from Indian knowledge of the shape of Ananta. The term Ananta, which means infinite in Indian thought, led to the English term infinite, both in shape and in name and in concept. Again, you see, shape, name, concept, all three aspects were influenced by the Hindu mind. That's what we'll bring out. There's a film on this. You can watch it in our YouTube channel on that.
Yeah, I'll drop a link to your webpage, Bharat Nyan, in the chat. And then also,
Yes.
if you haven't filled out the poll, please fill it out. Let us know if you're interested in this course. About 20 out of the 50 people have filled it out. So some of you, if you can just hit the minimize button, find it. Let us know if you're interested in the course, if you have questions, if you're already enrolled. And then also if you're interested in enrolling in a program at Hindu University of America. There's the certificate program in Hindu civilization. That is a specific certificate that the Haris are running with their 8-course program. But then we also have the certificate program in Hindu studies. Their courses also apply for that certificate as well. So please let us know if you're interested in the course or not. I linked their books in the Q&A. Ryan was asking for some of those links. I included that. We're kind of at the end of questions. Prabhatji wanted to voice something. Let me see if he's still on. There he is. All right. You can speak, Prabhatji. Let us know if you can unmute and ask your... Go ahead. You're unmuted, but we can't hear you. All right, Prabhatji, sorry. Let's give you a second to work on that, and we'll move on if other folks have questions. Now is the time. If you want to raise your hand in the participant window, we can take your questions. Prabhatji, maybe you
Can
can
you
figure
hear
out...
me now?
Now we can. Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, okay. I just wanted to share a comment actually when I heard about, para and apara, subtle and gross. It just dawned upon me at one time as I was writing about Hinduism very briefly. The last sloka of Gita, Yatra Yogeswara Krishna, Yatra Partha Dhanurdhara, Tatra Sri Vijayo, that sloka, Itirmatir Mama, Anitirmatir Mama by Sanjay. So it related to the Gyan and Karm that have been talked about throughout the Vedas and Upanishads. So Krishna is nothing but the embodiment of Gyan, knowledge, which is subtle or para, and Arjuna is nothing but karma, which is apara or around us. Para is beyond us. So that's a subtle and gross concept. And when you do have the congruence between the two, that's where the victory, the Sri, the opulence, Lakshmi, they will all fall, including the victory for the Pandavas. So that's all these concepts are related. So you did capture that, in your para context. So very good. So and that's the foundation of also Hinduism. When we say Vedanta, the culmination of Vedas teaching into something following, that is Hinduism. So that's how I related or defined the Hinduism. So just wanted to share that, and I wrote a little article about that also. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much. And also I'd like to thank Sri Arun Jain ji for saying wow, 32 books. Thank you, sir. 32 books is what is actually it's 100 plus volumes. It's actually 100 plus volumes. Some of them featured in the book, some of them featured in the mini book section. Cumulatively 100 plus. You can enjoy them. Please go ahead.
Many ones you can just read them just on the website itself in the form of flip books, and the rest are published on Kindle as well as print.
Great. Ryan has one more kind of interesting question. I hadn't thought about this. Is there any evidence that modern farming arose out of the various pujas and religious practices or practices, dharmic practices, rituals of how Hindu worship Sarguna Brahman? What about that? That's an interesting idea.
Okay. Yes. Good question. The idea of Krishi Vijnana by a Rishi is very old text. Krishi, obviously agricultural sciences, yes. And one of the oldest archaeologically found agricultural fields are in the Harappa Mohenjo-daro civilization, which go back over 6-7 millennia. So that is there. And in that, he talks about in the book Krishi Vijnana by Maharishi Krishi Parasara. Okay, that Rishi is Maharishi Krishi Parasara is the author of the book. The book is called Krishi Vijnana.
Krishi meaning farming.
Farming. Aspect is kar, to do, act, because farming is all about act, to do. The activity kar there with your hands and leg. So that book. So in that he speaks about a concept of Adi Bijam, the first seeds of farming. There's a full chapter in that which speaks about that. So yes, and similarly, we attribute Balrama, the elder brother of Krishna, to the plow. And plow is one of the very important ingredients to farming. So attributing to one of the Dasavatara divinities 5 millennia ago, and the text that goes with it. So farming, it's also a science. And we realized it as that's why we call it Vijnana science, not just Jnana. It's Krishi Vijnana, because Vijnana is science. So we saw farming 5,000, 6,000 years ago itself as a science and not just a vocation. And anything you do, a vocation or a science, you always do it with a certain sense of respect, regard, that to the divine within you and around you. So when you say religiousness, it all deals with that. So there is divine residing in you, there's divinity all around you. So you do it with that respect.
And one more point that I would like to add is, if you look at it, farming is one of the activities that is very highly synchronous in sync with nature. It has to be in sync with the nature around you, Mother Nature, and of course the divinity in Mother Nature. And that is when your farming is successful, and farming exhibits that harmony with nature.
With the moon cycles.
With the moon cycles as well, the rain cycles, your climate, everything else, your topology, where you are, and so on. Similarly, if you look at it, what is religion? Whatever religion that is practiced, I mean, today we may look at it as a set of rituals and rites, but actually, if you look at it, religions were conceived, conceptualized, and given certain form so that people, common man, can find a way to relate to nature as well, can relate to the cosmos, certain practices that will bring his human body, his mind in harmony with the cosmic divine. So that way, religion, and therefore different communities living in different places, they have formulated their sets of rites, rituals, and so on. And so there is a very beautiful parallel between what you call as religion as well as farming. They are both means to take you to close to being in harmony with nature.
Sure. When you said no farming and the moon cycles, farming is all about fertility. Look at the human fertility cycle of a lady. It's the same 28 days as that of the moon. It's synchronous. Similarly, if you look at the honey beekeeping, the pollination cycles, it's all the same synchronous cycles. So you see the synchronicity with nature and agriculture repeatedly in multiple places. It is so apparent, so transparent, and it sort of hits you in the face. And unless we decide not to see it, of course, when you see it, it's so apparent. That's the beauty of it. And this all been recorded so well, not millennia ago. The beauty is that about 5, 6, 7 millennia ago, in this first book, Adi Bijam of Krishi Vigyana.
I just saw a chat here from Sita Lakshmi Vishwanath about wanting to get in touch. I'll just put our email ID here on the chat. I mean, she or any of you, if you have any specific questions, you could always get in touch with us on this email ID.
Wonderful. Yes, I think that brings us to the end of today's webinar. Thank you everyone for joining. It is always my pleasure to host. Hopefully we will see you in a course or definitely in a future webinar. Dr. Hurry, Dr. Hurry, Dr. Hema Hurry, Dr. DK Hurry, glad to have you on. Exciting. So look at where we've come and look at where we're going. You know, we're on this mission. It's your students. I'm sure you have some students in the Zoom today. If you have anything that you want to share, please feel free to let your gurus know, let the faculty know, let everyone know what wonderful experience it is to take these courses. And with that, let me hand it to the Hurries for some closing thoughts.
Thank you so much, Ankur, once again for conducting this webinar so well.
So we would really love to see you all in the course. While we look at it as sharing what we have, some of your questions actually makes us also think and put the information that we have collected so far in a perspective that see, ultimately, if you look at Indian knowledge, there are so many dimensions, so many perspectives and dimensions. And it is questions that actually can bring these out, that actually make you think and bring these out. Questions like this about the farming and all of that, these are beautiful things. And I think it is these sessions, we look at it as sessions where we can collectively sit, look at certain facts, try to understand the ethos that drive this, the mindset that drives this, and collectively appreciate it and see what can be taken out of it for as relevant to today. And therefore, we welcome and every new batch, every group of students, participants actually who come for these sessions. We all have a nice takeaway at the end of each of these sessions. So we look forward actually to having you on board and
Thank you so much.
Taking your questions. The
This
most
is-
interesting part for us is the question and answer that come towards the end of our
That is one thing we pride in this course that we do, is that all questions all questions are welcome. So it's not a question of just we delivering a lecture, but it's going to be a multi-log right through the courses. And that's been the experience of all our students. Of course, subjects related to that day's session or in other sessions too. We'll be glad to discuss always. So it's a multi-log courses that we have, and welcome to join us. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Dharmesh. Thank you so much. I'm just putting the email ID once again. I think somebody, Rakesh, was asking for it. It's Bharat Gyan. It's simple. It's just go to our website and there's a contact. You can always go there and fill the form too. And we'll reply. We always do. Hari does always very diligently.
Thank you.
Thank you. Dhanyawad.
So thank you. Dhanyavada.